The only thing that can cure my cabin fever is a little toy hunting. Welcome to Pegwarmers, I'm Kevin, and we're here to talk about the Winter Fever Toy Show held at the New Jersey Guard Armory in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. This show is put on by the same people that put on the Delaware show that I talk about a lot. From what I understand, the Winter Fever show has been going on for a long time and then faded away, and it's been requested that it come back, and so this was, I believe, the first of its reincarnated version. We had some family stuff going on last Saturday, and when that obligation was over, I hopped in the truck, drove to Cherry Hill. It's actually basically right down the street from where NJCC, the New Jersey Collectors Convention, usually happens. And the parking lot was packed at the Armory, so I actually had to go down the street a little ways and park on the road and walk back, but it worked out fine. They had food trucks outside, and after you entered the Armory, you know, you pay your admission and get your wristband. It was a large garage space as the main room, with a smaller room in the back that was more of a finished off space. But overall, it was probably about twice the size of New Jersey Collectors Convention, the show that I have frequently done videos about. One of the first things I saw was some mind-blowing prototypes. One of the first vendors in the first aisle I walked down had a glass case. Inside there was Big Ben, Budo, and Big Bear. It's not the Arctic Commandos. I believe these guys are from the international team that was released towards the end of the G.I. Joe line as a mail-away set. There would have been one other figure that's missing. Maybe Spirit as a Native American. I think he might be the guy that's missing from this set. He also had prototypes of Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li from the G.I. Joe Street Fighter line. Ken is in his blue outfit, which is the version that came with the playset, so sort of like a vehicle driver pack-in figure. Ryu and Chun-Li look more like the colors for their regular release, you know, without paint. It's pretty cool to see those prototypes. The very same vendor had some Jim Henson dinosaur knockoffs. These are bootleg figures. Earl was there and one of the other family members, and you can instantly tell it's bootleg because the card back and the figure just look poor quality. Earl doesn't have the checkers printed on his shirt, and even the official toy, the checks on his shirt weren't printed that great, but this one just doesn't have any. My first purchase of the day came from that vendor. I picked up Commander Clash. This is a fairly generic bad guy from the Captain Planet toy line, and he's like dressed in the chocolate chip camo from Desert Storm area. He's got a like a radar dish backpack and a radar dish gun, and his card back is in German. Die hast die Macht. Auf den Rücken trugbaren Satellite und Torregulator. I don't know. Du hast die Macht. You have the power. The power is yours, right? This figure, I do not know for sure if he is a European exclusive or not. The Captain Power line was out here in America and was pretty successful, but I do know that there's a special version of Duke Nukem, the glow-in-the-dark bad guy, who was released in his Hawaiian t-shirt that he wore in a lot of episodes of the show. That was a European exclusive. I have to do some research to find out about Commander Clash, but he's a character I don't have from Captain Planet. It's a line that I lovingly collect, even though I'm not, like, going crazy for it. I have most of the figures loose, and I don't really have too many of the vehicles besides the Geo Tracker, their main vehicle. But this was too cool to pass up. I walked a little further and I saw the vintage A-Wing fighter. I just recently did a video about Star Wars ships, and I was talking about how I rarely see the A-Wing. It's such a rare piece. It's the one vintage ship that I think there's very little chance of me ever owning in my collection. It's really great to get out to this toy show and get to see some of my toy show vending friends. My buddy Ed Rentz, who runs the Raiders of the Lost Toys toy show that I set up at. My buddy Chris Lamont, who sells a lot of great stuff. Ben Leach, another collector who I am envious of his collection at every turn, was there set up with some cool stuff, as well as other people that I bump into at shows all the time. There's a guy named Dan that I know from the flea markets, and I've set up next to him at those Raider shows. He had a really cool Power Ranger TV tray at his booth, and lots of other fun stuff. The people that own Tinkerbee Toys were there set up. It's a toy store in Allentown, New Jersey, not too far from my old house. And they had these Polly Pocket-esque playsets on card called My Little Fairy Tale Purse. The one was Little Red Riding Hood themed. Came with Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf as little figurines. Pretty funny. Those 90s pocket toys like Mighty Max and Polly Pocket were huge, and there were lots of imitations of them. There was a really nice variety of stuff. I had to admire the Dick Tracy dolls. I think those were made by Applause. Those are pretty cool. You mostly hear people talk about the Playmates toy line for Dick Tracy, but the Applause line is really good looking. One of the vendors had a carded Berserko from Cops and Crooks, New Adventures Butthead, one of the villains from the 90s He-Man and Space line, as well as some Next Mutation Turtles. One of the vendors had a bootleg Batman M16. I'll just let you admire this for a second. It's a brightly colored plastic M16 with a package using a bunch of different style Batmans on it, all armed with firearms. Super weird. There was a vendor with a box of Monster in My Pocket trading cards. I almost bought a pack just to keep sealed. I have a complete set of the loose cards in like a binder with sheet protectors. But there's something super nostalgic about seeing trading cards in their packets from lines that I collected as a kid. Like I mentioned, my buddy Ed Rents was there. He had a bunch of G.I. Joes for sale and Power Rangers and a whole bunch of other stuff. But my favorite thing he had was a homemade Donatello. Somebody in the 80s cut this out of wood and hand-painted it. It's a little bit off-model, but I've definitely seen the artwork that it's based off of. And I think those kind of decorations are pretty cool. It's neat to see when crafty parents or grandparents went that extra mile for a kid. While I was walking around in the back room, I found a couple of Silverhawk stampers. Self-inking stamper. They're carded. The cards weren't in great shape. The vendor had Bluegrass and Sergeant Steel Will. The back of the package also says there was a stamper for Tallyhawk and Lieutenant Quicksilver. Collect them all. I got Bluegrass. His bubble is pretty crunched up. I will probably keep this on card. But I'm also slightly tempted to just peel it off card and just keep Bluegrass as a little statuette. Originally this sold for $1.99. Do you guys remember having stuff like this? I had a Mr. T stamper as a kid and a Cabbage Patch Kid stamper. It was like a little kid with a towel tied around his neck like a superhero cape. I assume this stamps his face. I mentioned Ben Leach before. Ben is a collector that I really enjoy talking to. He has an amazing collection and often sells really cool stuff. And he was selling a complete set of Creepy Crawler action figures. Now, you guys might remember Creepy Crawlers. The little oven, you'd pour goo into a tray and put it in this little oven, and it would vulcanize or rubberize or whatever and come out as little insects, right? They made action figures. How they made action figures based on this premise, I don't really know. And I don't really remember this toy line from the 90s when it was a thing. But I did see them at one point and then look up the cartoon show it was based on and watch a couple episodes years ago. It's bizarre. It's really strange. They all came with like a tray with a mold, that you could make creepy crawlers in. And I remember the guy Hocus Locus. He has multiple arms, being a weird character in the cartoon. That figure was there, obviously. Cece, the kid avatar character, CC, Creepy Crawler, haha, is just like a Mighty Max ripoff, basically. But it was neat to see this line. Ben said he's had it for years and really has not had it on display, so he decided it was time to let it go. I bought a figure from Ben from the Arco, the Otherworld toy line. This was a Dungeons & Dragons-esque toy line with figures with bendable bodies. They came with glow-in-the-dark weapons, and there were a lot of, like, bendy dragons that you could put them on as, like, beasts that they could ride on. This guy, I don't know if they have, like, a name or whatever, but he's like a green alien caveman type character. He's got, like, a Aborigine necklace and loincloth kind of thing going on, but he's a four-armed green alien. Ben also had a Mad Scientist dress-up kit. Mad Scientist was a Mattel toy line. They made rubber figures that came with all kinds of goofy accessories, but also other like role-play type toys, like a monster head maker, and apparently this dress-up set with lab coat and goofy eyes. The Mad Scientist had a cartoon show in the late 80s, and I enjoyed some of the toys as a kid. I don't think I'm going to collect the role-play outfit, but man, check out the packaging artwork. This kid dressed up as the Mad Scientist. Another wacky item that Ben had was a flying saucer disc for biker mice from Mars. Just a really weird item, you know. But when you license out your characters, man, they stick them on backpacks and fanny packs and party supplies and sleds. My buddy Chris MOTU was a real trooper being set up at the show. His like toy vending name, Gorilla Boys Toys. He was actually in the hospital the night before the show got released and was there set up. His wife and his son, helping him out and everything. He had a Monsters in My Pocket, the Green Leviathan, a very rare Monster in My Pocket figure, still in its baggie from when it came as a promotional item in cereal. I may be very envious of this and also considering buying this if he still has it the next toy show I see him at. I actually want to double check that I don't have one. I obviously wouldn't have it sealed, but I have one or two of the monsters from that very rare series that were like released as cereal premiums in Canada, and I should probably make sure I don't have the Leviathan before I buy this one. I picked up a Pegwarmer to feature on the show today. This is a Pegwarmer I have been looking for a long time. When we rebranded this YouTube channel and started the podcast Pegwarmers, I was disappointed I didn't own a Rose Tico on card. Obviously, I bought one when the toy line came out, but I opened all these guys because, I used to make video reviews of all the toys, and I wanted them out of the package. But Rose Tico is one of the most infamous Pegwarmers of modern times, and I found one at the toy show, and I bought her, and I have a special place for her in my collection, or I'm going to make a special place for her. I have a couple of other Star Wars Pegwarmers in a section over here. It looks like I filled in the spot near them, but I'll find a spot. I'm gonna put her in. I'll put some B-roll in here showing you where she ends up. I had a good time at the show. My friends Rose and Tony were going to meet me there, but they ended up getting sick. So Tony texted me that morning that they weren't going to make it, which was a little bit of a disappointment, but I still wanted to go check out the show, support the show, see some of my other, vendor friends and things like that. So I certainly am glad I went. Commander Clash is pretty cool. Rose Tico. But we're going to move on from our little toy hunt to some new to the collection items. So as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Masters of the Universe. I have a lot of the Origins line. I haven't jumped too hard into the cartoon collection because I'm sort of maxing out on rebuying the same characters over and over and over again. But the cartoon collection She-Ra stuff just kind of struck me as pretty cool. I didn't totally love the She-Ra figure from Origins, so this one looks pretty good. I do have the Super 7 version, but I think there are a few features about this one that I maybe like a little bit more than that one. So I decided to splurge and pick up She-Ra, Hordak, and Mantenna. So they have special new packaging. It looks a little bit different. It still has the same kind of vibe. The back of the package shows She-Ra and Seahawk fighting with Horde Troopers and Octavia. She is a retail release, so maybe they are still doing mini comics for the retail releases. The last couple of figures that I opened that were like Mattel Creations figures did not have mini comics. This looks pretty nice though. It's got some, a lot of She-Ra characters here. I have no idea how deep this line will end up going. If they'll just kind of do the core Horde people and She-Ra. I would like to get the Catra figure, because we never got a cartoon-accurate Catra in sort of the vintage scale. So that's kind of one of the figures I'm maybe most interested in. But I did want to check out She-Ra. Alright, so here's She-Ra out of the package. She has a small plastic cape. She has a plastic skirt. Her hair color and tiara color are pretty similar. They did use sort of a shiny paint on her bracers and her boots, and I guess the tiara. I wish the coloring was slightly more obvious there. I'm not comparing it straight to an animation cell. I'd have to go somewhere else to do that. But I feel like there should be a little bit more definition there. Her sword looks really nice. Fits in her hand well. I would love for them to make a Swiftwind for this figure. Swiftwind is one of my favorite characters from Princess of Power. I really am enjoying the Prince Adam Cringer set they did. So I would love to see them do Adora, and I would love to see them do Swiftwind for this line. We'll see. She also comes with her shield. Now, her shield, if you've seen the cartoon, is actually her sword, and it transforms. She can say sword to shield, or sword to rope, and maybe one other thing. Helmet, she does in an episode one time. It just transforms into a different thing. She doesn't actually use a sword and a shield at the same time. But it does look good on display. And her vintage figure came with a sword and a shield. But different looking ones, because the girl-aimed She-Ra line didn't look like the cartoon at all. Now, you may notice my Mantenna is in a plastic bag. I ordered these figures from Big Bad Toy Store, and I noticed there was an option for like collector grade, regular, and then damaged. And I knew they did collector grade stuff. I've never taken advantage of that, but I'd never noticed the damage before. And so I got Mantenna, who is bagged with his packaging, but the bubble is off the cardboard, and I think I saved $2 on him that way. I don't care. I'm about to open them anyway. So here's his card back. It's got Mantenna, Shadow Weaver, and Hordak. It says, as seen in A Loss for Words. So maybe these are all recreations of moments from the cartoon. That would make sense for the cartoon series. I just didn't really notice that with the She-Ra one. Horde Invasion, so it's the same mini-comic. You know, usually one mini-comic does the whole wave. I've always kind of liked Mantenna as the comic relief character from She-Ra. He's got such a unique body build. I really don't think it was necessary for them to use one of those little plastic tie wrap things to hold down each one of his limbs. You know, tying down just his arms or one of his legs might be enough. That seemed like overkill. I accidentally scratched his shin with my box cutter trying to snip those things. But I've always thought that the Mantenna body type was pretty crazy. And then he's got an action feature here. When you push on the button on the back of his head, his eyes bulge out. Some people might not like that you can't really display it bugged out all the time, but it's kind of fun to be able to do it. It's a good play feature, you know. So if any kids do buy this guy, they'll have a lot of fun with that. So Mantenna's cool. I might get Leech because I think he's pretty unique. Grizzlor non-fuzzy as an action figure is not super interesting, but I would possibly grab him just to kind of complete the look, the trio. If they do Shadow Weaver, I already have a Shadow Weaver from the Super 7 line. I don't really imagine this one's going to really one-up that one. But I did grab Hordak because Hordak is awesome, and this one having the extra articulation and things just seemed like a really great idea. So his is from Looky Lends a Hand, which is an episode that I do remember, and it shows Mantenna getting zapped or something. Hordak's holding a special item, and Imp is cackling on there. Oh, he comes with Slime Lord, Part 2 of Horde Invasion. So there are two different mini comics going on here. For being the bad guy, Hordak's got a pretty joyful look on his face. It is nice to see his head and his cowl kind of as separate pieces to give him some nice posability there. He does not come with an alternate hand, so you can't switch it for the arm cannon, which would be nice. But, you know, they decided to give him a all-new accessory. I don't think we've ever had this giant coffee mug. No. 20-sided dice, whatever this thing is. I'm sure it's episode-specific, and I've seen the episode, but it's been years. The best part of waking up is the horde in your cup. But, you know, it's nice to get some new things, and, you know, we don't always need them in the arm cannon. I would like a Hordak as the rocket. As a kid, I thought it was so cool when he would turn into a rocket to fly places. Like, I would hope that would happen in episodes, because it just tickled my fancy for some reason as a kid. So if they ever did a rocket version of Hordak, maybe they could include Imp with him, I would be down for that. You got a little sneak peek at the Winter Fever toy show. I have a pretty small haul from that show, but I'm happy with the things I bought. Also, some new to the collection items from the Masters of the Universe cartoon series toy line. Thanks for checking out this video. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Share this video with a toy collecting friend. And thanks for hanging on the peg with me.